All right. At the running back position, my top sleeper on the board right now. I think Raheem Mostert, man. I don't know why this guy continues to be disrespected in drafts. There are 28 running backs, 28 going over Raheem Mostert this year. Now I know he's 31, 32 years old. He's an older running back. The cliff falls off with all old running backs. That's what they tell you, right? Well, he was that age last year and he finishes the RB5. He don't have like years of tread on him. He's always been hurt. So that's maybe some risk. If you want to say, okay, there's maybe some risk that Raheem Mostert is going to be injured again. I get that. Like, he's been a pretty injury-prone running back for most of his career. But this system has set him up very nicely to be a contributor. He played in 15 games last year, cracked 1,000 yards, and cracked 20 touchdowns. So I honestly don't understand this one. This is one I'm just like perplexed. I'm bamboozled, flabbergasted. I got no reason to have Raheem Mostert, a guy who's probably going to be in a very similar position to what he was last year, now cratering down draft boards because we think Devin Achane is just going to overtake everything that he does. I don't get it. The team has already said Raheem Mostert is the lead back. So why are we not listening to that? Like, we want to talk about Mike McDaniel and coach speak. He's been pretty honest with us. And yeah, they want to get Devin Achane more involved in the passing game. That's fine. That doesn't take away from what Raheem Mostert does. If he's getting 15 touches a game, we're talking about an 80-yard player, like 80-yard per average player. Like, that's what he does, 80 yard per game. And if they're using him extensively in the red zone like they did last year because Devin Achane doesn't have the frame for the red zone, why are we discounting this? Why? Shit, I'm going to pick up the value. I'm going to pick up the value as my running back 3, a guy who was having monster weeks throughout the season in this prolific offense, especially if they find a way to figure it out. The only thing I can say is that the team drafted Jalen Wright. So at some point, they're going to get him a little bit more involved, 5 to 8 carries a game. That's cool. 5 to 8 touches a game, I'll even say. But as long as he plays a healthy season, maybe he's not the RB5 last year, but the RB29? Starting running back in one of the best run attacks in the league? Come on, man. What are we doing with Raheem Mostert? Like, I don't understand this shit. Sometimes I don't understand ADP, and it pisses me off. I'm not gonna lie. I don't understand ADP. Like, why is he going outside of the top 25 running backs? It literally makes no sense. Makes no sense, man. I don't get it. Y'all get that one? I do not get it. Next up, the running back 21 in ADP right now. And I think this is his ADP starting to climb up. Zamir White. And his ADP is starting to creep up there. But this last year down a stretch, he was performing as a high-end RB2. And do I think he's necessarily that? No. But if we see Zamir White going in like the RB25 range, to me, there's going to be a lot of value. He had 4 straight double-digit games to close the season last year. And they only signed, Alexander Madison? Was Alexander Madison a threat for Zamir White? I don't think so. And Antonio Pierce, we know what he wants to do. He wants to run the football. He wants to play defense. He's a defensive-minded coach. He goes to his guys, and there's a reason why this team didn't draft a running back and they didn't sign a running back. It's because Zamir White proved towards the end of last season that he's him. He can handle this. And they drafted him with the hopes that when Josh Jacobs left, which he did last year, that they had somebody that could come in and handle the load. Now, is he going to be this big-time pass catcher in PPR leagues? No. In standard leagues, should he be going much earlier? Yes. In PPR leagues, that's probably where we're going to see his value go down to about RB25-ish. So Zamir White's a player that could change fantasy teams, right? He could be – somebody was talking about 0 RB. This is a guy I'd be very much targeting. If you went 0 RB, has the youth, has the team and scheme, has the production that we've seen based on last year to be a guy that you can at least trust in your lineups. Is he elite? No. Do I think he'll be a top 10 running back? No. Do I think he'll be a startable asset for fantasy teams all season long while he's healthy? Yes. That's what he is. He will be a consistent starting running back for your team that has, I would say, a pretty nice floor. Like, we start to think of what some of the guys in the mid rounds were doing last season. I think that's what, and don't let him get a few extra touchdowns more than what I'm talking about. Don't let Zamir White steal the end zone more than what I'm giving. Like, I'm assuming he's going to get somewhere in the 6 to 8 touchdown range. If it's double digits, now we're talking about a whole different player. So he can catch the rock. He was targeted late. Obviously, he's had a couple 100-yard games in his bag already. ZAMIR White, I think he's a value right now going at RB21. Going at RB21. All right. Next up. I've talked about this running back a lot already, but I'm going to go ahead and stay on it. Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards, to me, like, I've seen some people say he's this year's Mike Davis, which is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Mike Davis was going in the 4th and 5th round. Now, if we were putting Gus Edwards in the 4th and 5th round, I'd be like, fade him, fade him, fade him. But Gus Edwards is being taken as the 41st running back off the board. 41st. Like, that to me is wild. Last year with the Ravens, 800 yards, 13 touchdowns. He was the RB25, right? That was like limited work. We knew Keaton Mitchell was involved. J.K. Dobbins was there early. He got hurt. Gus Edwards didn't finish the season. So it's like, for me, when I look at Gus Edwards, I'm like, when a team says they want to give a back 300 carries, this is what Austin Eckler said this, right? Austin Eckler goes, and they're like, why didn't you re-sign with the Chargers? And he's like, yeah, I don't fit their profile. They want a guy that can carry the ball 300 times. 300. Say he's a 4-yard per carry back, which I think Gus Edwards can be 4-yard per carry. We're talking about a 1,200-yard guy. And if the touchdowns are anything like they were in Baltimore with Greg Roman, and we know how he likes to use his running backs, that's a 10-plus touchdown guy in the red zone. They're going to pound the football with Gus Edwards. Justin Herbert is a very capable quarterback at getting them downfield. But if we're getting 250 to 300 carries out of Gus Edwards, who they have called this offseason the clear lead back, why? Why would he not be in the top 40 when it comes to running backs at ADP? He was RB25 last year. Different situation. Now he's a starter under Jim Harbaugh, who loves to run the football. Greg Roman, his offensive coordinator, loves to run the football. They want to give their lead guy 300 carries coming from the previous running backs who were trying to sign, their previous running back's mouth. And everybody's worried about Kimani Vidal. Everybody's worried about J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards is going to smash that ADP. Smash. I'm talking like probably put up top 25 running back numbers this season. He will smash that ADP. There's no doubt in my mind he's not an elite player. It's the same thing we talked about with ZAMIR White. I don't think he's an elite player. He's in an elite spot. Good quarterback, young team, new head coach who likes to run the football. He ain't Frank Gore. You know what I'm saying? Jim Harbaugh had Frank Gore. He ain't Frank Gore, but damn, like Gus Edwards is better than RB41. To this day, I will not understand that. All right, another running back that I want to talk about is Jerome Ford, who is going as running back 40 right now. And these are Fantasy Pros ADP, so you might see this ADP different other places, but this is Fantasy Pros ADP. He's going as an RB40, and it depends on who's in the backfield once the season starts. But last year he was the RB16, and that was with Nick Chubb being the starter for the first couple of years. We know Nick Chubb at some point this season is expected back. But Jerome Ford played well in a split role last year with Kareem Hunt. So this Browns offense, no matter what, they're going to split carries. But I think he could be a sneaky value as like an RB3, RB4 with flex weeks as a flex during bye weeks, especially in the middle of the season, right? I don't think anybody would ever start Jerome Ford. I don't think maybe he's RB2 if you go 0 RB. But to be RB40 after producing the season that he had last year, when he's involved in the run game, he's involved in the passing game. They use him in the red zone. They used him in the red zone last year. He had 9 touchdowns. So to me, even though he's going to split carries, like we're getting a value on a guy who had a top 20 season last year. I don't think he's a top 20 asset, but to be RB40 to just assume that Deontay Foreman is just going to take work away from him, or maybe Nick Chubb is going to be the starter, I think that's the wrong assumption. We got to see Nick Chubb healthy. He still doesn't have a timetable for return, and we're 2 months away from the season starting. So Jerome Ford, man, if you can get him, I think, as your RB3 or RB4, that's a nice asset to have as a safe floor player. I don't think there's a whole lot of upside with Ford, but I mean, RB40 to me, I think that, and he's going like around Gus Edwards range. To me, that's a good back to have if you're looking for depth. You're looking for depth and somebody who can get you through bye weeks. And if he hits, shit, maybe we do get a top 20 season out of him. If he hits and Nick Chubb can't come back, or Nick Chubb has a setback in his recovery, which we've seen happen. I'm not wishing that on him, but we've seen that happen before. So Jerome Ford, man, I think he could be a sneaky value as an RB3, RB4. And if you happen to get him on your team, hopefully you're not relying on him. He could just be an asset in case somebody ahead of him gets hurt, or you're just looking for like, hey, my guy's a tough matchup, or I need a flex during bye weeks. I think Jerome Ford could be your guy. And then the last one, I've gotten more excited about this as the offseason has gone on. And I truly think this could be one of those game changers. Blake Corum. Blake Corum could be one of those rookie running backs we look at and we're like, oh, shit, he's going to be a problem in fantasy. And Sean McVay drafted him in the 3rd round, right? And he's stout. He's 215 pounds. He's got good size on him. In his senior season at Michigan under Jim Harbaugh, who obviously we talked about him running the football, in his senior season at Michigan, he had 1,200 yards, 27 touchdowns, bro. I mean, this guy is the definition of we're using you in the goal line and you're going to get in. The problem is that he's behind Kyren Williams. So if you believe in Kyren Williams and you think that he is the answer for this Rams running attack, then stay away from Blake Corum. But in my opinion, Kyren is a little fragile, hasn't been able to really stay healthy. This is a guy that's also got a small frame. And we've heard over this offseason, Sean McVay has already been talking up Blake Corum. He said, man, he looks elite, looks ready to go. At some point during the season, Blake Corum's going to get opportunity. Now, whether that results into split work, goal line work, that remains to be seen. But if at any point in this season, at any point, if Kyren Williams goes down or proves that he is not the lead back for this team, Blake Corum is going to step into the starting role and never let it go. He will not let that spot go. Once Sean McVay has a guy, he rocks with him till the end of time, until they get hurt. Blake Corum might be that guy this season. Is he a player that I think is going to be starting on week 1 rosters? No. Is he a player that I think is going to be starting in fantasy playoff lineups? Yes. So I think you'd have to hold him, right? His ADP is up there already, RB37. You'll have to hold him for a while. But as a rookie, as an impact player, as somebody who might take away red zone work, as somebody who would have a streak at some point, unless he plays 17 games, Kyren plays 17 games, which you have to hope for if you draft Kyren. If he doesn't play 17 games, Blake Corum has like top 12 potential, in my opinion. Top 12 potential in that offense, just like Kyren did last year. Top 12. Like he's an RB1 under McVay if he gets a starting spot. So it's an exciting pick. It's one you'll have to wait on. It's one you'll have to, people are going to try to be trading for you, over the first couple of weeks if he doesn't get a lot of playing time. You might be tempted to drop him. But if he gets the starting role, holy shit, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. You have a strong, very strong caliber RB1, RB2 on your team. How y'all feel about him, man?